Hello students, we are back again. We are there now on second unit, and in second unit we are there on second session, that is working independently. See, in our life what we see is a number of tasks, a number of works, a number of scenarios are there where we require to complete the task. What happens that we the human beings, we are social animals. What we are good in, we are good in doing the work in a team. We know exactly how to do a work when we are there in a team. We are good at teamwork. The thing is, in our life, every time it may not be happen that the work will be done in a team. Sometimes it happens that some works are there, some tasks are there which is required to complete individually by a single person, by that person, by him or her. So both the scenarios are there. The person can work in a team. It depends on the scenario, but some scenarios may come when the same person has to do a particular task all alone by himself or herself. So when that person does so, it is termed as working independently. When the person does his work or her work, when the person completes the task by its own, it is termed as working independently. See, it is good in both the cases. If you are a person who is good in working in a team, it is good. If a person is there who is good in doing the work all alone, both the things are good. The thing is ki every work cannot be done in a team. Means there are some scenarios where you require to do the work all alone. There are some tasks which you have to do by your own. You got a project, you got an assignment, and the foundation is single person has to do single task. So in that you have to do the work all alone. So a number of times scenario comes where you have to do the work all alone, and there are some important things about this working independently. And that thing is, when you work all alone, when you do a task individually, you are fully responsible for that particular task. Whatever thing goes right or wrong, it goes best or worst, that person is only responsible. Nobody else is responsible for the failure or for the success of the task. Whatever thing happens, responsibility goes on that particular person. When you are there doing the work all alone, you do not require a person to supervise you, to command you, to guide you, to tell how to do, what to do, when to do, in how much time you have to do. These all things are done by that single person, by that person who is doing that particular task. So when the person does work all alone, he cannot give a person the responsibility, or he cannot blame a person about going the things wrong way or right way, or not going in a proper way. He is the only person who is accountable, who is responsible for either the work is going in a proper way or going in a wrong way. And one more thing is there, that the person has the advantage of completing the work on its own time, on its own pace. You got a task all alone, you are supposed to complete a task, so you will be the person who will be deciding how to do that work. in what speed you have to do that particular task, whether you want to do that work quickly or you want to do that work slowly. But the thing is, at what time you have to complete the work, so accordingly you can decide the speed of completing the task. So there are a number of things which happens when a person does work all alone, when he does the thing independently. The person can decide how much he want to spend on that particular task. See, a number of tasks are there where the person has to spend money. Say for example, a person who wants to prepare for, suppose, a particular event, and for that event some tools are required, some things are required. So it depends on person to person. Some person may purchase new thing, or some may borrow things from others, or some may use the things which are available with him at his home. So the person can decide the budget on its own. He will not be relying on anybody else. Nobody else will be there to tell him to purchase new one or to use old one or to borrow one. So the person can decide the budget also by himself. So all these situations are there. So the thing is, I'm not saying that every task the person has to do individually, but there are some instances where the person has to do the work individually, independently. Say for example, preparing for exam only. You cannot ask your friend to prepare for your exam. You are going to give the examination, so you will be the person who will be preparing for the examination. And when you will be preparing for examination, you will be solely responsible for the result. So when a person works independently, there are its own advantages. A number of advantages are there when you do things all alone. See, when you do a thing in a team, you have to rely on others. You cannot decide that this thing will be done by this particular method. There are a number of persons in the team and everybody has their own thought, and you have to rely on others thought. It do not happens every time that you say a particular thing and that particular thing is accepted by all. But when you do a work all alone, there is an advantage, and that advantage is you do not have to depend on anybody else for any kind of help or support. You are the only person who will be deciding what to do, how to do, when to do, where to do, what are the things required to do. Means everything will be controlled by you. You will not be guided by anybody else. There will be no person who will guide you, who will monitor you. You are the sole person who will be controlling your tasks in your own way. You can decide your speed, at what speed you want to complete your work. See, the thing is कि whenever you get a task, for every task there is a time limit, that in this time you have to complete the task. And according to the time limit, the person can decide the pace. Either he can do the work in a slow speed or at a normal speed, or he can do the work fast. It depends on the capacity of that person also, whether he is able to do that person in a particular speed or not. Means the person will be defining the speed of the work, how fast or slow he wants to complete the task. But the thing is ki, he will be completing the task on or before the time, and that too in his own style. Every person has in having a own style of working. If you take a two person, certainly those two person will be having different styles of doing the same work. A same task can be done in different ways. So when you do your work, your style will be reflected back in your work, because you will be doing that work in your own style. So like I said that when you are there in a team, A single person cannot decide the working style or anything. A decision is there. So certainly when you do all alone, you are the person who will be deciding what to do and what not to do. So certainly you will be eliminating one thing, and that one thing is disagreement. So certainly when you do a work, when a person does a work all alone, there is nothing like disagreement. You are the person who will be deciding, and there will be nobody else who will be saying against you. And when a person does work all alone, it saves time. How it saves time? Because you will not be going to somebody, or you will not be waiting for somebody for doing a particular task. You will be not wasting time in arguments or discussions or in meetings or in taking or giving suggestions. These all things are eliminated, and when all these things are eliminated, certainly you will get more time to complete the task, and that too without any hindrance. So all these things are there, which are advantages of doing the work independently. And apart from this, one more thing happens, that the success of or failure, it is fully on the person who is doing that particular task. If apart from that, there are some more things which a person should learn, which a person should know, if that person wants to work independently. See, a number of things are there which a person has to know, has to accept, has to be having a knowledge if he or she wants to do the work all alone, independently. That is termed as working style of independent working. The very first thing which a person should know is he has to be his own supervisor, he has to be his own critic, he has to be his own guide. You see, like I said, that when a person does work all alone, that person is only the supervisor of his work. He is the only person who will guide himself how to do a particular task, how to complete a task, how to manage the task. You all know about yourself quite very well, better than anybody else. Every person knows that. So you know your strength, where you are strong. You know your weaknesses, what are your weak points. According to the strength or the weaknesses, the person will decide the working style, how he or she is going to complete the task. A number of things are there which are required to complete the task, and who will decide? That particular person will only decide what are the things which are required, what are the things which are not required. The budgets related to the task will be decided by that person only. See, say for example, a person got a project work, and that project work he has to do all alone. So for that project he requires a number of tools, he requires a number of machineries, a number of things are required. So it may happen that a person may purchase all the things new from market, and he may exceed the budget. And it may also happen to the second person that he wants to eliminate the budget of all those things, and what he can do is he can adjust with all those things which he has with himself. He can borrow things from his friends or other if they have, and he may arrange things in lot more cheaper prices. Some things are there which he can make by himself, he do not require to purchase from market. So certainly he will reduce the cost of that particular project. So the cost of the project assignment or the task means the budget, can also be controlled by that single person if the person is doing the task independently. So this thing happens when you do work all alone. The next thing which a person should know when he or she does the work all alone is the person should be clear about the objective. Objective means the goal. The person should be very, very clear about the goal, about the main task which he requires to do. And in that, he should know one more thing. He should know all the requirements for completing the task. Means two things he requires to know. The very first thing he requires to know is what is the main thing which he requires to do, the main objective of the work, the main goal of the work, what is the result which he wants to achieve. And the next thing which he wants is he should know the methods, the tools, the things required to achieve that particular goal, the result. Means the first thing he requires is what is his aim, what is the thing which he needs to complete, and the second thing he requires to know is the methods, the tools, the things required to complete that particular goal. So two things he has to be very, very clear. And after that he should be having one more thing, and that thing is he should take all the initiatives. See, all the decisions will be taken by that person who is doing the work all alone, doing the work independently. Now he is not relying on anybody. He is the person who is now going to work on a particular task. So he has to take now decisions regarding the steps, decisions regarding the budget, decision regarding the tools which he requires to complete the task, decision regarding the methods which he will be taking to complete the task. Means all the initiatives, all the decisions he has to take if he wants to complete that particular task, if he wants to complete it perfectly, on time, or before time. The next thing which he requires to do is he has to be fully committed towards his work. He has to take a oath, a promise to himself that yes, he is ready to accept that particular task, he is ready to complete the task all alone. See, without this promise, without this oath, without the commitment to complete the task, certainly that person will not be able to do that particular task perfectly and properly. So he has to be very, very committed towards his work. That if he has started that work all alone, he will be certainly going to complete the work all alone. See, I said no, all alone, properly and perfectly. Now, as he started the work all alone, he cannot leave the task. He cannot quit the task because if he does so, certainly the work will not be completed, the work will not be done. The work will be incomplete and there will be a certainly failure for himself. So if he do not wants to fail in the task, he has to promise himself that whatever task he or she has taken, he or she will now be completing the task without quitting to the end of the task where he will get the final result. So he has to be committed. The next thing which he requires is he needs to maintain a work life balance. See, maintaining a work life balance means he has to maintain the speed of the work. At what speed he wants to complete the task. See, whatever task a person gets, For different kind of person, the same type of task can be difficult, the same task can be easy. There are different abilities for different person. So according to the abilities, according to the willpower of the person, according to his working style, the person can decide the speed of the work, how fast or how slow or how at normal speed the person wants to complete the task on or before time. That speed will give him the time to relax, and when he relaxes he will get certainly more energy to complete the task next time when he again comes to do the work on the same task. So certainly a task is given, and the person knows at what time he has to complete the task. So according to that time, the person should now decide the speed, that at what speed he will be completing the time. Suppose he got 1 month, so in that 1 month daily how many minutes or hours he will be giving to that particular task. And when he decides the speed, he will get some time for himself also. One day work is done, now he'll be taking rest, now he'll be thinking about the second day, what more thing he can do to do the work better than today. The next day he does the work for the same hours, relaxes, he thinks again what are the things he missed today, and then the next day he can do the work better than one more day. So he needs to maintain a balance, a work life balance, so that he can relax, he can think, he can do the task on time or before time. And when all these things are done, then the person should be having one more quality, and that quality should be, he should be having the quality of taking the mistakes and errors whatever he has done. See, everybody or every human being is not perfect, some or the other things are there which a person lacks in. So it may happen that a certain task is given and a task could not be completed properly or perfectly by a particular person. So if a person is working independently, the person should be capable enough to take the ownership of all the errors, all the mistakes which has been done during that project or because of the failure of the project. If the project, the task fails up, the person who is doing that particular task should be capable enough to accept that failure, to make himself responsible for that failure. See, he was or she was doing the work all alone, and that work could not be done properly. So that work could not be done properly because of some errors or some mistakes or some faults. And now who is responsible? That only person is responsible. Now he cannot blame anybody else because he has taken all the decisions, he has done all the work on that task. So he should. So apart from all these things, there is one more thing required, and that thing is action planning. See, action planning means how to plan a particular objective, a task, a work, a assignment. See, a number of things are there which you have to do all alone. Prepare for examination, preparing for competition, preparing for a event, anything. A person is a dancer, a singer, a musician, an engineer. So for all these things, if he gets a task, a competition, he certainly needs to plan the things well so that everything goes well according to his wish and his success comes up. So for that, a number of things are there which a person should do, and that thing is, the very first thing is, he should be knowing about his goal. A goal setting is there. See, goal setting means he has to know about all the things which he requires to complete the task. A task is there, and for that task the person now has to collect all the required things. Suppose that he is going for a competition, so in order to get success in the competition he requires some things. So the very first thing he requires to collect all the things which are required to get that particular task done properly. The next thing which he requires to do is he requires to do a planning. See, different types of tasks are there. Either small tasks are there, or big tasks are there, or very big tasks are there. So planning certainly is required. Planning here means a big task is there or a task is there, so divide that task into smaller pieces. See, a huge task can be achieved only when the huge task is divided into smaller tasks. So all the smaller tasks will be accomplished, completed, and then bigger tasks can be achieved. So the same thing we have done here. Planning means a task you get, and then that task will be divided into smaller tasks, and the things required to smaller tasks will be collected, and the person will start with all those smaller parts to complete the bigger parts. After breaking the bigger part into a smaller part, a timeline has to be decided. See, timeline here means the chronological ordering of the particular task, that at what is the order for completing the task, which thing should come first, which thing will go at last, which will be there in the middle. So a timeline has to be decided, a chronological order should be decided to complete the task, the starting point, the ending point, the things which has to do in between. So all these things and important steps should be decided to complete the task. And lastly, one more thing is required, and that is the most important thing, and that is time management. See, bigger part is now divided into smaller parts. Now all those smaller parts are arranged in a chronological order, means which thing will go first, which thing will go at last, and now division of time should be there. That is how much time should be given on each part. See, you cannot give same time to all the parts of a particular project. Some parts require smaller time, sometimes requires bigger time, some requires more than others. So a time division, a time management is also required in order to complete the task. So the very first thing is you have to first set the goal, what is the goal which is required, then you have to arrange all the things which are required to complete that particular goal, and after that you have to do a planning, like dividing the bigger task into smaller tasks. After dividing the bigger task into smaller tasks, you have to arrange all those smaller parts in a chronological order, that is which thing will go on top, like on first, which will go second, which will go third, and which will go at